My name is Connor Toomey, and I'm excited to talk to you about what's next in enterprise AI. We're in the midst of one of the largest transformations to happen in our lifetime. This AI era is on the tip of everyone's tongue at the moment. And when we take a look at previous innovations that have been technology driven over the last 3 decades, we saw digital transformation as a key theme. It took about 20 to 25 years for this to actually permeate into every enterprise. And similarly, with public cloud adoption, it was about a 5 to 10 year journey. But what we're experiencing with AI is tremendous pressure. Every CEO is under pressure from their investors, from their board, from their employees, and from their customers to have an AI strategy. Some companies are struggling in this space, and very often the cause of that struggle is a lack of return on investment and really a lack of understanding of the total cost of ownership across hardware, software, and people to actually realize the promise of AI. With that said, there are some winners. There are some people who are using this beyond productivity, beyond just a co-pilot. And that's something that we hope to dive into during this session today. We are AI One. We are here to fulfill the promise of AI with immediate economic impact. Our mission is to make technology a commodity, freeing up capital so enterprises can focus on growth and innovation. So often people are focused so much on replacing the human in the loop, and we're spending a lot of time with executives helping them focus on what they can achieve today that they couldn't achieve yesterday through the advent of this technology. What we hope to cover today, we want to talk about AI's potential, what it really stands for, what it's capable of doing, and create a common language for how people should talk about AI. We're then going to talk through a common pattern for success: crawl, walk, and run. We're going to see some real world examples and then even a demo. So hoping that people are excited to see a little bit of what's next on the AI journey. So my name is Connor Toomey. As I said, I've worked with enterprise scale data assets for 15 years. I'm a data guy at heart. I've spent a lot of my career within capital markets, but over the last decade have got exposure to healthcare, life sciences, aerospace and defense. Anywhere that you see the intersection of fast data assets and large data assets, I've had an opportunity to provide some value. Sometimes it's in machine learning, sometimes it's in AI, a lot of it's analytics, but I'm a big believer that there's no AI strategy without a data strategy. And so I'm really a data guy at heart. I'm a dad, I'm a runner, I'm based in New York City, and delighted to be chatting with you guys today. The AI landscape is confusing, bamboozling. This is the 2024 machine learning, AI, and data landscape. And there's no shortage of organizations soliciting or pitching their services across hardware, software, and people. And it's difficult to separate the wheat from the chaff. And so through the last 2 years, I've been fortunate to work with 650 different executives about their AI strategy. And what I've realized is the gap, the chasm that exists between the bits and the bytes and the speeds and the feeds versus what it actually means for an organization is huge. So how do we create a common language to actually make sense of this new technology? And the first thing is to realize this is not just technology for the sake of technology. It's technology in service of something. And that something needs to be beyond efficiency, beyond a euphemism for job cutting. And really, you need to bring your employees and you need to bring your customers on the journey with you during an AI transformation. So where people have been successful is where they've really focused on growth and really used this as an opportunity to foster innovation. So the first lesson, realizing a common language. What is this AI in service of? The second thing is a common way to measure AI. When you start talking about billion parameter models or teraflops during inference, you've lost most of the audience. This is complicated stuff. But if you begin to speak through the language of time, cost, and risk, we talk about that in two ways. You've got maybe an existing system that you want to AI. AI has now become a verb. So I want to AI that. What you need to be able to understand is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the journey worth the outcome? And so getting a sense of what your current state is, what your end state is, and what it'll take to go on the journey from A to B, that's absolutely key. And when you can talk about it through time, cost, and risk, you've created a universal language that every executive, every employee, and every customer can understand. I love this chart. It talks about the role of AI. People often talk about data, information, knowledge, insight, and wisdom. And data is just raw materials. It's bits and bytes, it's ones and zeros, but it has no context, no categorization, no understanding. And when we convert that to information, we're now providing it with some color. We're giving it the context to understand what these bits and bytes represent. When we connect information together, that's when we have knowledge. We understand how a system works, what the context of that system is. Insight is knowing what's normal or not normal, being able to see through this knowledge system whether things are opportunities or threats, risks that we need to take action on, or things that we should be aware of. And then finally, wisdom is understanding the cause and effect between different data assets that we have. People would often say that the role of analytics is making sure that you're getting the right data to the right people at the right time. Well, really, the promise of AI is getting the right knowledge and insights to the right people at the right time. AI is about lowering the barrier of prediction. Have I seen this movie before? Have I seen this pattern before? And is it indicative of something in the future? Has this happened in the past? And when it did, is there a probability distribution to explain that this is a threat, something that I need to take action on? And so really it's lowering the cost of prediction, lowering the time it takes to make predictions, which as an organization will allow you to make compounding better decisions over time. Okay, so in 650 sort of discussions with different executives, working with different executives, what have I seen as the most successful pattern that people have taken on a crawl, walk, run approach? And really, from a crawl perspective, it's the ground stakes, it's the internal use cases, and it's at its very essence what generative AI has unlocked is the ability to give semantic meaning to unstructured data artifacts. This means now that disparate data silos within my organization can be connected, and using English as the interface means that the accessibility to people using this technology has massively reduced. So the first example that we see is better search, people building systems to ensure that there's a centralized knowledge repository so that employees feel a joined up and unified view of specific workflows, of customers, of products or services. And then the ability to interrogate that in natural language using semantic meaning. So that's a typical starting point. We call that better search. So it's like your internal Google search type experience. The second thing we see organizations doing is open hackathons. And some people are critical of hackathons, but you have to remember to lead and be a leader in AI transformation, you have to bring your employees on the journey with you. And this is a way of getting your employees across different divisions, departments, and skill sets into a room to go on the journey together. That's absolutely vital. The second thing we see in terms of the next phase is the walk phase. And this is where you're taking existing workflows. It might be a data science workflow to predict something using quantitative information. Can I enhance those workflows by reducing the time it takes to operate, maybe reducing the risk, or identifying new signal from previously unsearchable, undiscoverable, unstructured material? So an example of that might be speaking to a customer about a specific opportunity, and now all of a sudden being able to bring in external news information or social media context to ensure that you're actually positioning the right products and services to that client. So it's taking existing workflows and enhancing the model yield or enhancing the outputs and reducing the time, cost, or risk, coming back to the same mantra of a common language. What we're seeing as the bleeding edge is people who are really innovating, and they're doing that by creating brand new things. Peter Thiel famously talks about going from 0 to 1 and from 1 to N. 0 to 1 is technology, 1 to N is innovation. And so whether you're trying to have a new way of doing existing things or creating brand new things, fostering an environment for innovation is what these leaders are doing in the space. And an example, a thought experiment that we often give to executives around this is to say, if you were to burn this entire business down to the ground and rebuild it with AI everything, what would this look like? Could you offer a differentiated service? Could you do it with a cost base that's more effective to actually change your business model? And that's where innovators are working. This is a group called Evident Insights, and they measure how different companies are performing primarily with a financial services bent. But they're taking a look across 4 key metrics. So talent, innovation, leadership, and transparency. And they're using these as measures to understand where are organizations in their journey. And this came out for the first time about a year ago. Many of the clients on this list I've spoken with, they take this list very, very seriously, because it's not only really, really important in terms of attracting and retaining the right talent, but customers are also looking at lists like this to understand how AI forward their organizations are that they're partnered with. So let's take a look at some real examples. Morgan Stanley, during the summer, released a press release in their wealth management division, and they were doing something that didn't seem overly complicated. Their wealth manager group, 15,000 strong, were using transcription services available through AI to listen to a customer so that the wealth manager could spend more time actually engaged and listening directly to the end customer. The transcription was catching all of the information and very simply sending a summary back to the client. This was not only saving a lot of time within the organization, but actually giving a better quality of service to the end customer. I have to admit, I was a little bit disparaging of this when it came out first. I didn't think it was particularly interesting. But upon further discussion with various executives, I've learned that this actually created a large revenue drive for Morgan Stanley. They were able to save some costs, service more customers, and give them a better quality of service, which all led to a flywheel effect of further investment in AI within the firm. So this is just one example. And if you think about it and you take a look at the outcome metrics, it was able to save time for employees. It was able to grow. So there was an efficiency. There was a cost saving, and they were able to serve more customers. So it's growth, not much innovation, and a lot of efficiency. But again, coming back to what is AI in service of? We take a look at a company like Bank of New York Mellon. These are a very AI forward organization. They provide a lot of the clearing services around the $22 trillion treasury market. And one of their AI use cases is around predicting settlement failures. They've decided that they didn't want to monetize this. They wanted to pass back savings to participants in the space. And they have saved millions of dollars by using predictive analytics to foresee and protect against potential settlement failings. Bank of New York Mellon have also put a huge emphasis on training within their employees, and they're very transparent about the programs they're taking to bring their customers on the journey or bring their employees on the journey and the number of employees impacted. So they're doing a great job with the communication. Okay, we're going to switch gears for a second and take a quick look around the corner of what's happening next with AI. At the moment, a lot of people interface with AI through a chat-like experience, like ChatGPT. But what's happening next is this concept of agentic AI. And the word agentic comes from the word agency, which means autonomy. And what this means in practical terms is that you're moving away from rules-based systems to principles-based systems that have a little bit of autonomy to make decisions on your behalf. So an example, if I was organizing a meeting, for example, I might receive an email to say, hey, Connor, are you available to meet for coffee next Tuesday? My diary agent would be able to check my calendar, would have the autonomy to understand what are the items that could be moved, am I available? It would do some of the moving on my behalf. So think of this like a chatbot agent that's able to take actions on your behalf, that you've fed in a little bit of context, well, a lot of context about who you are, and you've fed with a bunch of principles about how it is you like to operate. And a diary agent is just one example, but we're going to begin to see multiple agents emerge in the space. Why I think this is so fascinating for the EDA space is primarily because every time an event occurs, a cascading set of these agentic workflows are going to kick off. And I think we're at the very early innings of experiencing AI in our personal and professional lives in a way that actually happens behind the scenes. Prompting is going to be the rotary phone of our generation. This technology is too intrusive, it's too friction filled. And so I'm certainly very excited about the promise of agentic AI, and I'm keen to show you a demo in a moment. We're going to talk briefly about another type of agent. It's called an agentic software engineer. And that's just a very fancy way for saying an AI platform that builds software code. And it looks and feels a little bit like a ChatGPT interface, but the output, instead of being a chat back, is actually an application that is being built from front to back, soup to nuts, with documentation and testing. By the year 2029, more software will have been developed entirely by AI than has ever been developed by humans. And that can be a little bit scary, but it also means that the cost of technology, the cost of software engineering, is going to trend towards zero over that time frame. People need to reset their relationship with technology and the role that technology can play to both accelerate their business aspirations, but also if your moat or your defensibility has been technology, that's not going to be a moat much longer. So this is an area that I'd encourage any executive to dive into in more detail. So we're going to set up a demo in a second. We're going to show a demo where I'm going to use 4 English language prompts, so 4 sentences in English, and we're going to create an entire application from front to back. Greylock have done a very good job of tracking all of the different agentic software engineering platforms that are out there. And some of our favorite ones include Cursor, Replit, Blitzy, OpenHands, and Devin. And we're going to show an example of Replit in action in a second. So in this example, I want to use 4 sentences. I want to say, use the team and website and extract relevant info from edasummit.com. I want to build an event-driven architecture workflow, and I want to stream data showing the number of people watching this session right now. Now, of course, my example isn't going to be connected to a real-life data set, but this prompt is going to be enough for it to generate synthetic data to look at. Most importantly, given that we're at an EDA summit, I want to make sure that the numbers and charts are streaming in real time. So here is Replit. We can see at the top, I've got access to my Replit agent. I mentioned this is one of about 10 or 12 companies in the space. And I'm going to copy and paste in my 4 lines of English. I'm going to click Start Building. And this is now going to have this agentic workflow kicking off. Think of agentic workflows as daisy chaining a series of individual prompts that have been fed with specific context and trained on specific tasks. So in this case, I've fed it in 4 lines. I wanted to build an application. And before it goes off and builds anything, it's actually going to auto-suggest to me improvements for what the initial prototype of this project could look like. This takes care of every element of the application stack. It's generated a Postgres database on the back end that's going to have synthetic data. It's creating all of the front-end code from scratch. And this is happening in real time. I'm not accelerating or 2xing this code development. It's writing all of the code from scratch. It's creating the entire project, which is being updated in the top left-hand corner of this program. And it's going to run all of the integrations and all of the testing to actually launch this as a real example. So when we talk about the cost of software engineering going to zero, what we're really talking about is disrupting the loop of going from ideation to validation to production. This is not about cutting jobs. This is not about putting people who are software developers out of a job. There's still going to be a significant role for people who understand how to develop enterprise-grade software. But it does mean the barriers and the cost of actually building and maintaining technology are going to drop significantly. And that's exciting. So here we go. We've got our first version of this dashboard. We can see that it's up and running. This is now hosted. It's in a web server. Everything here has been generated from first principles. So it's not using any licensed products on the front end or the back end. And all of the IP that is generated is available to be used. You can hand this over to someone straight away and say, hey, yours to use. And as I said, this is Replit. It's about one of 10 to 12 companies in the space. And I'd encourage everyone to have a play. It's very easy to use. So I've provided some feedback. Hey, you've given me the beautiful charts that I wanted, but it's actually not streaming any data. Please move ahead. So I'm going to skip this a little bit. It's actually took me about 5 or 6 iterations in this example to have it streaming real data. But given it's the EDA Summit, I wanted to give you guys a bit of a laugh. A prior example that I used, which when I said it wanted real time, it decided that a real-time viewer involved faster refreshes. And I laugh at, in my prior roles, working with different organizations, I spent a lot of time helping explain what it means to move from a batch-driven world to a continuous stream of truth. What are the things that you can do once you have every single data point captured and can act upon that data in service of more confident and timely decision-making? And so, yeah, I thought it was funny that it decided it was going to use faster batches. It took maybe 5 or 6 more prompts or more engagements for it to actually start streaming Postgres, which was pretty cool. We're going to finish this by talking about 5 key learnings that we see from enterprise AI today. And the first is just encouraging every executive I speak to, before you go on a journey to either buy a product or to build your own solution, speak with your existing vendors, speak with your hardware vendors, your software vendors, and your people vendors, and ask them, do you have an AI roadmap? Can I take a look at it? Can I see what's coming around the corner over the next 2 years? And very often things that people feel they need to build themselves internally are going to be features on somebody else's roadmap, and maybe features that they're going to get access to because they're already a consumer or a customer. So build versus buy. So check your existing roadmap. The second thing is really so much time is spent explaining to people that this is a probabilistic technology. Generative AI inherently doesn't come up with the same answer every single time. And so that can be difficult for people to comprehend. In a regulated industry, it's unacceptable, actually. So explainability is really important. And so there's tactics that you can do to ensure that the answer from any generative AI prompt is actually a citation back to a hard artifact or a hard piece of material. And there's various tactics like graph RAG or graph-based solutions that don't have any hallucinations at all. So the way that I explain it to people is, at its very essence, at its very core, generative AI is using the prior words in a sentence to guess what the next word is likely going to be. And so if I had a sentence like Mary had a little ... based on publicly available training data on the internet, 99 times out of 100, my answer would be Mary had a little lamb. But 1 time out of 100, it may say Mary had a little lasagna. And that is a feature, not a bug, with this technology. So it's probabilistic. The third lesson is around enterprise decision-making and how do you get moving. We talked about the crawl, walk, run approach. And so many organizations begin by setting up an AI committee. And we saw a parallel to this in 2015, 2016 at the enterprise when cloud was the topic of the day. Everyone was on-prem, they wanted a cloud footprint, they wanted the promise of potential cost savings or to move and be more agile. And it took about 2 years for the enterprise to realize that there wasn't going to be a one-size-fits-all cloud policy, that different parts of the organization had different needs, and that what you needed was constitutional policies, the 10 commandments for what the cloud means for the enterprise. And it took them about 2 years to realize that it was almost like federal decision-making and state-by-state decision-making. The ability to push autonomy down to the business owners who are under pressure to deliver results was really important. So what took 2 years during cloud has now happened within about 6 months within the enterprise. You've got constitutional AI, which are the 10 commandments for how the organization treats hardware, software, and people decisions with AI. But individual business line owners are now given the autonomy and the spend to actually go off and pursue opportunities specific to their workflows. The next is around education. So regardless of what you are doing with AI, whether you're building your own solutions or bringing in third-party solutions, education is not optional. And I've spoken with several executives who felt that they were going to bring in a silver bullet solution across their entire employee base that would be activated on a Monday, and everyone would be so happy to know that their applications have now been AI turbocharged. And what we find is first off, the lack of education leads to further distrust about where the executives feel the direction of the company is going. And again, coming back to the kind of the job cutting type discussion, am I going to be replaced by AI? So not doing a very good job of communicating and bringing your employees on the journey. The second is that some of those silver bullet solutions will very often get up to about a 70% uptake in the first month, but then see a very significant drop off in 2 months later. So realizing that not every employee has the same needs for AI type applications within your business. Successful patterns will break the workforce into different cohorts based on technical, semi-technical, or non-technical, and then roll out training programs for those staff. So not just releasing it to everybody at the same time, but giving it to the people who need it most, giving them the education and the time to be educated in a space that's quite new. The last element is around use cases. A lot of people tell me, Connor, I can't use AI. I'm a regulated industry. And very often a starting point, whether it's healthcare, medicine, whether it's in financial services, if you're using this technology as an additional lens on your workflows and processes, an additional way to catch risks, that's a great starting point. So for example, if you've got an audit track that has 10 steps in a workflow, don't get AI to do your homework. Don't try and create an AI version of the 10 steps. Create an 11th step, which is getting AI to just do a check over, check the pattern. Is anything unusual in the prior 10 steps? Based on other workflows in the past, can your spidey senses tell you that we have seen this movie before and what's likely going to happen next? So using AI as an additional lens is a great starting point. So my name is Connor Toomey. I'm the co-founder of AI One. I hope you found this session engaging. I hope you found it educational. And if anyone would like to contact me at any point, my email address is connor@ai.one. Thank you very much.